And you know what? You will risk losing a lot of people. That is inevitable. That's going to happen because you cannot maintain the same people in your life that you had before you were awakened. So it's naturally people are going to fall off one by one, and you do feel like, oh God, you know, there's something wrong with me. Maybe I've lost the plot. But you know what? I came across that lonely path for about 5 or 6 years, but I'm now finding the right people, and I know that I'm calibrating with the right people. We're all on the same song sheet. We're all feeling the same, you know, the same. So you find your own tribe eventually, and that's the beautiful thing about it. The people who are meant to be in your life will be in your life, and if they're not meant to be, even some awakened people cannot be the right people for you. But it's a journey of finding and nurturing and trusting the process.
Yeah, trusting the process is a big one. Welcome to the Unprogrammed podcast, where we talk about life beyond the script with ordinary people who are awakening to the truth of reality. I've been on a path of awakening for many years, and I'm intending for this podcast to contribute to the normalization of both spiritual awakening and awakening to the systems. We have withstood unbelievable pressure, countless psyops, and many have compared our experiences having this perspective in the world with, particularly over the last few years, to military grade training in terms of intensity. My name is Jenny Luscombe. Please welcome my lovely friend Lynda. Lynda's someone that I know from my local area, and she's a content creator, and she's an explorer of abandoned buildings, and she's also a singer. So welcome, Lynda.
Thank you, Jen.
So you're one of the first people that I am interviewing about this, and you know, having been on this path for quite a long time, it's quite strange. It's like being in a different reality to people that are not really aware of awakening and what that is. And obviously, awakening is not really recognized by mental health systems, any systems really.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
we feel like we're kind of on our own, but there's millions of us. There's millions of us who are all connecting. So I've got some questions here just to sort of help people that might be starting out on that journey to kind of understand what they're in.
Sure.
So the first question, Lynda, so we're in the midst of this great awakening. What does it mean to awaken from your perspective?
Well, it's an uncomfortable feeling, but it's a knowing that the world that we've been living in since we've been born into isn't quite the actual truth of the real world that we are now living in. Now we've woken up and realised, and we're woken up to the truth, and that everything has literally been diluted, facts have been changed, and everything that you've been told is a big lie. And then we've woken up, which means realizing the truth from the fake narrative of what we've all been taught.
When did you first become aware that that was happening?
Well, I kind of had an inkling that something wasn't right when I was at school. I was probably around, I don't know, 8 or 9, and I just I used to come home and I used to say I hated school. It was like being in a prison. And when you look at the similarities between a prison and a school system, that they're pretty much identical. There's so many similarities there. You know, wearing a uniform, having to hold your hands up to ask for permission to go to the toilet, being served your food on a tray, walking single corridor, you know, down the corridor. It is literally the same institution as a prison. So I guess then I knew that the system that I was in wasn't really fit. You just put with a load of people, whether you like them or not. You know, you've got to get on with them, and you've got to be brainwashed from day one. The indoctrination starts, and then you grow up and leave school, and you've been so heavily indoctrinated by it all, you don't even question it. And then I think what we're doing is we're asking questions about the system that we've been brought into now, which is, of course, the awakening.
Yeah, it's so interesting the way you put that. Um, and it, having worked in education for 10 years, which I came out of because I could see corruption in education, lots of things were happening that I didn't agree with, and I didn't agree with the way that they were treating children. And
Mm.
also like intuitively knowing that, if a human is to reach their potential, then they need to have that potential nurtured. And
Yeah.
I was on teacher training, kind of wondering, when do we get to the bit about where we nurture their potential? But we're
Mm.
just, as teachers, we're just projecting information at children, and that there's no potential is going to be reached by that. I think that children need to initiate their own learning, but that kind of talk in the education
Mm.
system they think is wacky. It's
Of course, yeah.
it's
Because they've got a sort of mentality, don't question it, just, obey.
obey. Yeah. And I worked in primary school, and like this, you spend so much of the day trying to get the kids to stand in a straight line. Why? Why? Kids
Yeah.
don't want to. It's not natural for them to keep still and standing in a straight line. What's the purpose of that apart from to control them?
Yeah,
It,
and it's also causing trauma because the person might be fidgety, they might be restless, and then that's traumatized into a person where you've got to remain still, and then that in itself is suppressing a person's, natural creativity.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Okay. So, in this time of information wars and truth wars, and what's your opinion about what is happening in the world right now from your perspective?
Well, I think there's so much information on this Great Awakening now that it's hard not to come across it. If you don't come across it by chance, there's a chance that you will be introduced to somebody who's awakened, and that's how the dominoes start to fall, because it'll have a knock-on effect, and everyone eventually will find out something about this. They might try to ignore it, but we all know once you start digging, that opens up rabbit holes, and then you get to find out the whole scope of what's actually going on. So I think it's wonderful because I think it is going to happen. Some people might resist first of all, but they will eventually put two and two together and then realize, there's something going on here. I do have to pay attention now.
Yeah. So you think
Mm.
ultimately the truth is coming out?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think even the most hardened people will come to a realization. Um, Something will their own intuition will tell them, hold on a minute, I know I didn't believe in the flat earth, even though I was awakened. I never used to believe in the flat earth. And it wasn't until I was shown pretty much snippets of what the flat earth is, and it could be a reality. That's when I started realizing, hey, I'm expanding even more awareness here. So I think even the most people who don't want to believe in this stuff, they will eventually have no choice but to believe in it, because and I think they'll probably embrace it, and they will turn the opposite. The most hardened people will realize and think, oh my God, and they'll be approaching people like me and you and saying, oh my God, I can't believe this. There's such and such and such, the world actually is flat, or we didn't go to the moon in 69 and all this stuff. I think it's going to be exciting, and yeah, it's going to be on
Yeah.
on the seat stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and the flat earthers, that's kind of like one extreme side to what people think we've been lied to about. But many people think that the whole of history has been falsified, and that the all of the world wars and everything like that weren't real. They were kind of generated for the purposes of money and power, and um There's
Exactly. It's just that all of the powers that be, they operate on corruption, and they have to hide their lies that they've told by falsifying the
mm,
history. So yeah, so that's why you'll never find the truth, because they've tried to bury their lies so far. But once you start opening the rabbit holes, things are revealed to us.
yeah, and I truly feel like all the information, with the internet, all the information about what's true is actually out there. And
Yeah.
what we like I say to my daughter, because it's hard to teach a 16-year-old how to discern truth, but ultimately you just have to learn intuition. You have to learn to be guided by what you sense, and
Exactly.
listen to all the voices and
Mm.
take the information through your heart, and discard what you feel doesn't work for you and just take in what you feel does. It's a really complicated time.
Exactly. I
um
mean, this is where they've tried to destroy biology by, these scientists say, like the brain is this sort of, doesn't tell you anything about the pineal gland. They don't tell you anything about the gut feeling, the intuition. All these are like super sensory perceptions of how to, be your own officer of the truth, and and let those things guide you to the truth, and they will, and they want to suppress these things. They don't tell you what the pineal gland's for. In fact, they know very little about it, or they do know and they don't want to divulge that information. So you do have to become your own Inspector Clouseau and all this sort of stuff, and follow your nose, follow your senses, and then believe in your intuition. Some people think it's crazy because they don't see what you see, but it's just that they're a few steps behind yet. But they will get in front, and they will become one of the awakened.
yeah, and what I love about this journey is the more people that you meet that are awakening have kind of become experts in their fields. Like, people
Mm,
have been let down so badly by the systems that they've become their own doctor, they've become their own teacher, they've become their
mm.
own kind of historian, and everyone has become an expert in something that they couldn't receive help for,
Exactly. Exactly. It's like accessing your own hidden talents.
yeah,
Um, that you can actually medicate yourself. I became psychic. I was able to read people's cards, tarot cards. That's an ability I never used to have, but I created it. Developed more as I became awake. So it does let out all your talents come forward with this, and you realize things that you never even felt capable of before. They're there hidden, and they're waiting for you to shake them up and come out.
yeah.
And
And
it's amazing.
I think ultimately we are, you know I think that the awakening is about seeing that there's been a lot of agendas, and there are loads of agendas like in every single part of life, but the main thing that is happening is that we are being separated from each other and separated from ourselves. So what I'm seeing is like the people that are awakening are they're not changing into different people, they're uncovering the truth of themselves. So there's a lot of people who are into the healing work and kind of like delving down into their subconscious minds to release what is not them, and to release the limiting beliefs that they had about themselves, and then moving into the truth of themselves. Personal empowerment,
Exactly.
it's a huge
Mm,
thing, and
mm,
that's part of the next question that I wanted to ask you. Like lots of women, and particularly women who are mums, the most unnatural thing in the world to happen to a family is to have no one around you, and with having different perspectives and lots of difficult things have happened to some of us, we've often ended up by ourselves with kids, trying to make the best of it. How has this awakening experience been for you as a mum with this separation agenda in full
I
swing?
thought, well, I found that part probably the most harrowing, because I was excited and very motivated by by what I was learning, what I was finding out. And I was wanting to share it with my daughter, which probably wasn't the right thing, because I do believe, although it's good to encourage people, the person will find out when they're ready. So obviously, because I was frightened to tell outsiders this stuff for fear of being mocked or being seen as crazy, schizophrenic, all these labels, you have no choice but to sort of talk out loud, and then that naturally rubs off on your family members. Okay, so whether you like it or not, that unfortunately that's one of the knock-on effects. But that person's probably going to come awake sooner or later anyway. It's just that you've already planted the seeds into those nearest and dearest to you. That's just unfortunately how it is. Um, it can work against you, but I think things all come round, and that they, things eventually calm down and get to where they need to be eventually. But all I can say is it is very isolating. But then you've got to look at that as a positive side effect of awakening, because they tell you to go within when you're awakening. One of the biggest, I mean, when I was sort of speaking to ancient gods and ancient civilizations, what the most powerful message I got delivered to me, which was the voice was in the whole of the room, was the power is inside of you. That's what I was told. So that is literally, you've got to interpret that as self. It's inside of you. It's an individual experience. So it is, although isolation is a very um fearful thing when you go through an awakening, it's also an essential part for growth.
Yeah, there's a difference between loneliness and isolation, I guess, in some ways, and solitude.
Yeah,
Like all of those things sound like they're the same thing, but solitude is kind of like what you end up appreciating, really. You end up appreciating being by
yeah.
yourself and
There, there,
um
is, there is a flip side to the coin to all this, though, because although you're saying isolation, yes, it is. It's lonely, and especially when you're dealing with all this information, you've got no one to share it with, and the people that you do tend to share it with are anti-awakening. They want to, make out there's something wrong with you. Oh, you need to see a doctor, blah 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 blah. So that's suppressing the situation. The situation is has to come out. It came out. It needs to come forward. And you know what? You will risk losing a lot of people. That is inevitable. That's going to happen, because you cannot maintain the same people in your life that you had before you were awakened. So it's naturally, people are going to fall off one by one, and you do feel like, oh God, there's something wrong with me. Maybe I've lost the plot. But you know what? I came across that lonely path for about 5 or 6 years, but I'm now finding the right people, and I know that I'm calibrating with the right people. We're all on the same song sheet. We're all feeling the same, the same. So you find your own tribe eventually, and that's the beautiful thing about it. The people who are meant to be in your life will be in your life, and if they're not meant to be, even some awakened people cannot be the right people for you. But it's a journey of finding and nurturing and trusting the process.
yeah, trusting the process is a big one. And obviously we've all distrusted the process to some
Mm,
degree because it's been, like you say, harrowing. Like that
mm.
word that you used, I was thinking that is how a lot of my experiences have been with this for sure. And
It's like being inside a concrete building which is stood to weather any storm. So we've had this fake facade built around us all our lives that protect us from the truth. We're actually being protected from the good. That we're shielded by lies and hate and negativity, and all of a sudden this massive storm is taking the bricks out one by one, and we're going towards the truth and the light. So I think that you need to see it that way, that we've been suppressed and we've been concreted over, and all our abilities, our thoughts, our realizations, and the truth has been so heavily contained in these institutions around us that we're breaking free, and the institutions are crumbling, and now it's getting revealed to us through the awakening process.
yeah, and I've been tuning into a lot of information about the new human. And like you were saying, a lot of science and everything has been altered or, sold to us in the wrong way, kind of like by omission, like things have been left out. I mean, you hear about junk DNA. I don't know if you've heard about that. Like they teach in school that there's parts of our DNA that don't seem to do anything, but
Mm,
actually most people who are understanding that we're in the process of like evolving actually into almost a new species of human, like we're ready to
mm,
do that. And there's
mm,
lots of prophecies actually about that.
mm,
Like you just have to look at the gene keys and
mhm.
tune into what Richard Rudd is saying about gene key 55, moving from the shadow of victimization into freedom. Now that's all about the cosmos working with our biology, working with our DNA.
Mhm.
And there's 12 strands of DNA where actually we are being activated as humans. So many of us who are on the awakened path, we're kind of like going ahead. We're kind of like the canaries down the coal mine, like we're going ahead and we're transmuting the negative stuff that we've been holding on to and moving into the light. And that's happening within our DNA. It's kind of very difficult to understand.
Yeah,
And then with the 100th monkey effect, the more of us that are being activated in that way, and we're consciously moving towards that, but through our choices and decisions and standing in our power and doing the healing work, the more the rest of humanity are going to be following. It sounds like science fiction, and actually, it's so exciting what's happening. It's scary, but it's exciting.
exactly. Yeah, we should embrace it.
Yeah, yeah,
Just let nature do its thing and unfold it for you. You know,
exactly.
don't fight it. Don't stress yourself out over it. You know,
Yeah,
you will come full circle one day, and I think me and you are approaching that part of the awakening cycle now. We've virtually we're like 90% of full circle. There's just like a little bit 10% further that needs to knit together, and we'll have come full circle. And we've weathered it. We've gone through it.
yeah,
It has been destructive. It's been chaotic. It's been nerve-wracking. It's been soul destroying at some stages. We both thought we wouldn't be able to weather this. We wouldn't be able to carry on.
yeah. There's
Um,
been many times where like not, I've thought that I'm not going to make it, for many reasons.
yeah.
Um,
Well, sorry.
no, go on.
I feel like that's sort of a protective thing, though. I think because if you talk about the nature of God, he's there to protect us. And I think maybe it's sort of, we've been so heavily indoctrinated that we might not, when we see the truth, some people might not be able to actually handle the truth. It'll just like send people crazy. This could be the reason why there's people on the streets who've, been deemed, addicts and stuff like that. Maybe they've gone through some sort of spiritual awakening and they haven't been able to handle it, and they haven't navigated it the correct way. They haven't had the right support system around them. And I think maybe sometimes God makes all these terrible things happen to you to test you, to see, I know this is horrible for you, but the truth is really going to be a hard one to face. So you have to go through these tests that are sent to you, like losing people, being put in situations where your health is at risk, or you're going to lose your home. People are dying around you. It can be extremely brutal, and I think it's testing you. It's building you up into this superhero that is able to withstand the storms,
Mm,
and that builds character and resilience for the absolute truth of reality.
yeah, yeah. And you've made me think that, a lot of people say if there's a God, how can God let all of this happen? All the stuff that's coming out about the Epstein files and the sex
Mm,
trafficking and like if there's a God, I don't think God is finished. And we are the creator. Part of the awakening process is coming into embodiment, like realizing that we are all part of what people call God, and
mm,
the main thing is that we're leaving behind the slavery model you know, doing what other people tell us to do, doing as you're told, moving
Yeah.
into kind of this divine creator self. So we are the creator. So what if it's up to us to finish the job, and we are what God is, you know, that's
Well, exactly. They say
that's
God moves in mysterious ways, don't they?
yeah, through us. And
Exactly.
it's a case
Yeah.
of like getting over ourselves, and leaving behind the old versions of us, or not leaving them behind, but rather sort of integrating them and loving them, and then becoming the potential that we are ultimately. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the awakened souls like ourselves, Jen, like me and you, and so many others out there. We're the breadcrumb trailers. You know, we leave a trail of breadcrumbs for those who don't know the story, and we leave them bits and snippets of information, and then that can. So we're sort of the light workers on the way. The breadcrumb trail is the light to the
Mm,
truth. That's to the gold, you know, the gold
mm,
at the end of it, the
mm.
prize.
Yeah.
Um, some people would argue it's a prize, but we're actually privileged to be able to find out the truth of it. And then what do we do when we all come together as a whole? Then we become the force to be reckoned with, and that's when we transmute the darkness, which is the other side, who are fighting for the enemy, and then we can be the protectors, the guardians, the Christ consciousness through all this.
Mm, mm. And I like the image of like all the light workers around the world, like we're all kind of points of light on the globe, and we're creating
Mm.
almost like a grid system,
Yeah.
where we're transmuting the darkness into the light. Um, okay, so what do you feel like you are here to do? Because many people on this path believe that we have a life purpose. What do you feel like that is for you? And you might not know, because obviously it's a thing that is just unfolding all the time.
I think we are one of there's a I don't know, I don't mean this to sound egotistically, but the Bible talks about the 144,000 people. I'm still a believer that we could possibly be one of the chosen to spread the truth, which which needs to be told. So I'd say definitely part of my mission is to spread the news of what I've found out on the journey. Just go and research it yourself and come to your own decision. Basically, that's what I'd
Hmm.
recommend to anyone out there on who's maybe opened Pandora's box and now is gonna, you know, opens a can of worms and the whole truth's gonna come out. We are the ones who is to spread the light. We've been the chosen to you
Hmm.
know.
Hmm.
Um, so I do feel like, as you said, I'm a content creator, so I talk about a lot of this on my page. So that I'd say that's part of my purpose in
Yeah.
life.
Yeah,
Mm,
you've done a lot to get truth out there and to kind of stimulate conversation. I mean,
exactly.
you know, some people are triggered by that the chosen one, you know, and like you say, it does feel a bit sort of egotistical, but
Mm,
some people spin it in a way that like, you know, some people believe that we chose ourselves. So like we chose to come here into this like very dense, dark planet, you know, the 3D matrix. We chose to come and to bring our light from some other place where we were like quite happy,
mm,
but
mhm,
we chose to come on this mission, to bring our light into this darkness, so that we actually chose, you know, we chose, we weren't chosen, we chose.
yeah,
I kind of
yeah.
like that, you know, but again, it's just people laugh at those kind of stories because it just sounds insane, you know. But I feel truth in that, and it just is. I think it just is, you know.
I'm not wanting to come across as being egotistical here when I say about this 144,000, but it could be just possible that when God mentions this 144,000, is he referring to the ones who will discover the truth and the light, which is the Christ consciousness, which I think
Hmm.
is what we're embracing here. What is the opposite of evil is Christ. So,
Yeah.
the ill-fashioned good and evil thing that comes from biblical texts is is Christ versus Lucifer. So we've turned the satanic version of truth into now the Christ version, where the truth is being revealed. That's how I see it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
There's so much going on, and there's so many different ways to look at it.
Mhm.
And obviously, we've all got each other to learn from. It's like we're all missing. We're all kind of like different pieces of a puzzle, of a
Yeah.
whole, um, which I love. So for people who are just beginning their awakening journey, what advice would you give to those people if you sort of cast your mind back to times where,
Okay, I definitely say be ready for it, buckle up. It's not going to be easy. Um, if you do need to seek advice from doctors or whatever, don't be embarrassed by that. Sometimes we do need something to help us. It's not. I mean, I did turn to medication at some point. I did need something to take the edge off it, because things were being thrown at me. If you do feel like you're losing the plot mentally, it's gonna happen whether you like it or not. Don't necessarily feel like there's something wrong with you here. It's just finding out the truth from what's been ingrained into what us since we were children is really hard, and that can send a person to spiral. Don't be ashamed of that. Don't be embarrassed about it. It is part of the process. You will feel like you are going crazy at some point, but you will realize at some point that was all part of the process. It's part of the undoing of the lies that we've stored in our consciousness for so long, even though we wanted to question it, but we've thought, no, we're going to appear crazy, we're wrong to even think that way. It will be unpleasant, but that is part of the awakening journey. And if you do fear that, there's plenty of information on YouTube um to help you navigate through it
mm,
and cope with what about is about to be unfold is about to unfold.
yeah, and one of the things that I think makes it particularly difficult is the programming that society has given us about mental health issues. Psychosis is actually a part of life. It's just normal. And
Exactly.
I having worked in mental health services and, running a alternative therapy business, I know that people are being sectioned for, given diagnoses like schizophrenia, etc.,
Mm,
because they're having synchronicity, which
mm,
is a natural phenomenon,
exactly.
which anybody can look into through sort of
Yeah,
Jungian psychology. Um,
exactly. It's
you
like
know,
you just mentioned before about the 55 number in the body. Um, that actually represents change, the number five. So
yeah,
all these numbers are significant. They actually have a meaning behind them.
mm,
Yeah. So they're,
yeah,
they're not just numbers that add up and come to, a multiple number. They are the essence of life, these numbers as well.
yeah, yeah.
They
It's
are quite.
interesting you've said that about 55. Yeah, because the
Mm,
gene key 55, which I hold, and so does my daughter, like many awakened people do. Um, it's a catalyst, and it is indicative of the great change, and it's unstoppable. It's not like,
mm,
it's not like we can push this down and pretend it isn't happening.
no,
Well, we
no,
could, but
no, no. Yeah,
it's happening.
it is literally like a simmering pot on boil. It's a simmering pot on boil, and it's about to get turned up, and it's about to bubble over, and things will become absolutely chaotic. Um, but that's just part of the awakening process. It will eventually, in its own time, simmer down. And I truly believe you get help from the other side as well, even by family spirits that have passed over. They can see what you're going through on this side, and they can get help for you. So
Hmm.
although I mean, I know this is going to sound absolutely crazy, but I lost my dad last year, and I truly believe he may have been taken at that time to help me stabilize on this journey. That's how crazy things work.
Hmm. Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, like
Yeah,
we're all ultimately in our own. learning hologram, and our realities can intersect, but
Mm,
ultimately we're all on our own individual journey, and we
mhm,
can go online and we can access anyone's information that is
mhm,
teaching stuff, from their perspective, and we can
mhm.
take all that information in and we can resource it and it's perfect. But ultimately we can't get away from ourselves, and it is always us coming back to ourselves that is going to lead us in the right direction. And even when we go in the wrong direction, that I don't think there are any mistakes. I think we do get back on the path, and it can be a bit wonky, but that's just how it is.
That's exactly it. Yeah, 100%. Jen, yeah.
So what do you feel like, with all of this, you've been awake probably the majority of your life. Like, what
Mm.
do you feel matters the most? What is the meaning of this life from your perspective?
I feel like it's valuing yourself and understanding who you are, why you're here. There's a bigger picture. Don't just think you're one of million out there. We are all unique. We have things in us that have been silenced from us, which can be awakened. Um, don't become what they want you to become. You become who you choose to be, who you want to become. Always do things for the greater good, you know, go with compassion and love and all this stuff in your heart. Um, and carry on the journey. You've been chosen for this journey. Embrace it and accept and love.
Mm,
Mm,
that's lovely. That's
mm.
lovely. And I think that it's a bit like Alice in Wonderland, that, as soon as you realize that everything around you is a reflection, and there are
Mm.
messages literally everywhere in every
Oh,
person that you come across, in everything that you witness.
yeah.
Even when the bad stuff comes, like if you can say to yourself, okay, so if it's true that everything happens for a reason and everything is happening for me, how could this terrible thing that's happening, how could this be happening for me? Like you can
Mm.
start to integrate and learn and
Exactly.
understand how the
Yeah.
universe actually really works. Because,
Hmm.
here we are in our 50s, like trying to figure it all out. Imagine if we'd been taught how the universe really works when we were kids and how different things would be, you know.
Of course. I mean, I also almost forgot to mention this. I've touched on how isolating this can be, how crazy, how you can question your own sanity. It can get even worse than that. Don't be surprised if you do start to see entities that you've not seen before. You might start seeing extraterrestrial beings appear in glass, in mirrors. I was called to embark on a journey to Egypt. I actually went on a pilgrimage to Egypt. I felt compelled to go there for a reason. That, work on these. If you get a hunch on something, follow it through. Um, if you feel that will help you on your journey.
Hmm.
That's what I was compelled to do. I did start to see, these weird. You open up, you open your third eye, and then you're in touch with these other dimensions. Um, they will back off if you want them to. They will back off, but they will always remain there if you're ready to speak to them. But it can be freaky. It is. This is just a hell of a ride. It's like literally, it's unbelievable. It
It
really
is a
is.
hell of a ride,
Yeah.
and like I've heard people say that there are souls in the multiverse like queuing up around the block to come here.
Mhm.
So if that's true, we need to kind of take the rough with the smooth and like enjoy this journey. And I am
Exactly.
starting to enjoy this journey a lot more myself, like having been through some terrible things. But
Oh, definitely.
I
Yeah.
think as soon as you start to have a bit of an understanding about why things have happened the way
Mhm.
that they have, and
Mhm.
what's really going on and what's true, then you can start to stabilize then and like just get on with it.
Exactly. Yeah. But just expect the unexpected. That's all I can say. Don't
Hmm.
be shocked or surprised by anything because literally anything is possible on this crazy ass journey. It is
Yeah.
absolutely crazy. I mean, I started seeing visions in my mind of like Anks from Egypt, books that actually existed, which I'd never even had any comprehension of before. It's just wild.
Yeah, yeah. And like it isn't all darkness. There's love and light as well. But the I think one of the main traps on the spiritual path is not just the thing where people just get stuck seeking, seeking, seeking instead of looking within. It's getting stuck in the love and light, because obviously there are higher frequencies coming into the planet, and that's what's triggering the awakening. A lot of people do get stuck up there, kind of in this high frequency, kind of in denial of the dark. But the key to it all is to weave the dark and the light together, to dip through into the dark, into the light.
Yeah,
Yeah, don't just stay at one end of the spectrum. It takes a bit of practice, that
it does.
for
Yeah,
sure. It's not a straightforward journey, but yeah.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Lynda, for your wisdom and your
Thank you.
perspective.
Thank you, Jen.
And
It's been amazing.
I'm going to be talking to quite a few people from the local area where we are, but also around the world, just to share some voices, because I think, when I was awakening in a community of people that were very asleep, and I had no support. I didn't really understand what was happening.
Hmm.
And it seems to me like that section of the community that I came out of is the most resistant to change, interestingly.
Exactly. Yeah.
I had a very difficult and lonely journey. So I'm doing this really to help people, to help and support people who are having experiences that they
And
don't
bring us together.
understand. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But ultimately, like all of the psychic stuff might seem a bit kind of fantastic, kind of like uh, magical thinking.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's truly who we really are. And
Mm-hmm.
so much has happened to us that we've been taken away from ourselves, that all of our telepathic abilities and psychic abilities and everything have been suppressed. And it's
Mm-hmm.
only when you start to allow the truth of yourself to begin to evolve that you realize quite how
Exactly.
powerful you
Yeah.
are. And
Mm-hmm.
all of us. It's a really exciting journey. Really
Yeah.
exciting.
100%.
Okay, well, thanks, Lynda. So I'll put your information underneath, so
Wonderful.
people can look you up and follow your journey.
TikTok. Yeah.
But thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Jen. And blessed be to everyone on the journey.
Yeah,
Love
yeah.
and light.
Bless you. Thanks, Lynda. And thanks,
Yeah.
everybody, for watching and listening.
Thanks, Jen.
Wow, that was an interesting conversation through time and space. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. If you found this information useful, then please like the video, subscribe to the channel, share with someone that you think it might help, and leave a comment below to share any knowledge, wisdom, experience that you may have that can help someone out there, maybe more than you might think. And connecting with each other at this time is definitely the antidote to the separation agenda. If any of you would like guidance or facilitation on your awakening path, to translate the spiritual reason for your symptoms, to change limiting patterns, emotions, or beliefs, or to learn to self-heal, then you can contact me through my website link, which is underneath. I believe that we can learn to self-heal anything ourselves. I self-healed chronic pain that my doctor told me that I would have forever. I also self-healed anxiety disorder, symptoms of complex PTSD. I also lost weight without even trying, and I reversed signs of aging. People all around the world are healing themselves all the time and reversing their diagnoses. So if you're interested in discovering the truth about healing, then I'm here for you. Lots of love.